Hi and welcome back to Finding Stillness. You won't hear my name here, not because I'm hiding, but because this space isn't about me, it's about you, your breath, your thoughts, your quiet moments, and your invisible struggles. This podcast is a place where we pause, where we soften, where we sit with the things that we often live in silence. Today's episode is called Moments I Almost Gave Up. And I want to be honest with you, this one's a bit of a personal one, but sometimes the hardest stories to tell are the ones we're still healing from. And this episode isn't just about giving up. It's about what stayed, what held me, and what helped me stay. So join me through this episode. There are quiet moments that doesn't always look like despair. You might not even notice it at first. It doesn't sound like a scream, it's more like a whisper. It sounds like, I truly can't do this anymore. Or, what's the point? Or even sometimes it's just silence, that blank feeling of not knowing. I've had these moments where I'm so tired and I just don't want to fight it anymore. Moments where I don't feel sad, I just feel numb, empty, and just disconnected from everything. And it's never dramatic. It doesn't look like falling apart. It looks like brushing my teeth with a blank stare. It's that scrolling endlessly and holding my breath while I smile. Being there for everyone, showing up for everything. And in those moments, I didn't always know how close I was to giving up. And even now it makes me sad to think about it. Not in the loud way, but it's always a quiet way. The way that slowly slips away from yourself. Not knowing when you feel like you reconnect with yourself and nothing else. And I think moments where I just don't want to be in these types of situations, you would kind of never know. Because however people feel, you may not always see that on their body language or through their speech and how they act. Because for me, I always looked like I had everything together. And how could I have anything wrong? And what possibly could I be upset with? So, it really does feel like you're slowly slipping away from yourself. And I think that's most definitely the hardest thing to deal with. There was one night that I still clearly remember because I wrote something that evening. It wasn't anything huge or tragic. If I'm honest, it was just life. The little things piling up, the past reappearing, a bad sleep, a hard conversation, a day where I just felt truly invisible. And I remember sitting in my room, the lights off, my phone next to me, and it just felt like I had nothing left, not even an energy to cry. I just kind of sat there in the silence and in the stillness and thought, if this is what it's going to feel like forever, I don't want to keep doing this. And it truly scared me. Not because I wanted to disappear, and not from this world, but just from my surroundings, from those I care for. I wanted to pack up my bags and just leave, start over in a new country where no one knew me, having no ability for those who know me to contact me. But because I couldn't imagine anything changing, I just didn't know what to do, and that is really what truly scared me. It's the kind of hopelessness that doesn't always come with drama. It does come with stillness, the kind that makes you question your worth in the quietest and most convincing voice. And something kind of happened that night. It wasn't a miracle. It definitely wasn't a breakthrough. It was just something small, almost that invisible shift, something I couldn't directly see. And I had a blanket next to me, and I just pulled it over myself as a sense of safety and security, that true definition of a security blanket. And I wrapped myself in it, and I thought, okay, I'll just get through the next 5 minutes, and that was it. No pressure to figure out life, no pressure to heal everything in that moment. Just the next 5 minutes mattered. And I didn't know I was choosing to stay, but I was, by breathing, by being, and by staying wrapped in that blanket. And those 5 minutes turned into 10. And in that time, I had a lot of thinking. I just kept thinking about the past, about my present, and about my future. And not in a negative way, not in a way to dwell. And I wrote something, a poem based on my life, a poem based on the past and how I've come from it. And the poem made me sad in the end, from that not being upset, from being hurt. I was sad and I was crying. I wouldn't necessarily say sad, but I got upset from feeling like I was being liberated in that moment, that I took the time to acknowledge my own feelings. And that nervous system that was built on protection and hurt was finally breaking to rebuild, to address and confront what has happened and what is. And it felt liberating, those 5 minutes of solitude, from feeling so overwhelmed at the beginning to feeling so liberated towards the end. And the poem I wrote is called Born from Silence. So, I was born from silence, in the quiet ache between a heartbeat and a goodbye, where grief slipped in before language could form, and I inherited absence before I knew presence. My mother left before I could call her home, her warmth just a ghost wrapped in hospital sheets, a whisper in my DNA, a lullaby I never heard but always feel. She didn't choose to leave me, but the world forgot to stay with me after she did. And the other part of me, my father, the man who should have knelt beside my crib and whispered promises, stood behind walls and pointed at his family, as if flesh could be measured by where it came from, and not who it wept for, saying I was too much and I was 12 and starving, begging for crumbs of acknowledgement from a man who looked through me like I was a shadow of someone who he once loved and lost, calling me angry, calling me dramatic, but I was just the only one who wouldn't keep pretending that silence was the same thing as safety. And I love the woman who kept me alive, but love without reflection became a cage, and I outgrew the version of me she knew how to raise, because survival taught her silence too, and silence doesn't know what to do with girls who want to scream, so I did. In my journals, in my dreams, in rooms where no one listened, I yelled for my mother in the language of longing. I wept for the girl I used to be, the one who made herself small in rooms that didn't deserve her. Now I see clearly that child wasn't too sensitive. She was a flame in a world terrified of fire. That girl who wanted her father's love wasn't broken. She was simply whole in a world that didn't know how to hold her. And me now, I am the thunder that silence couldn't hold, the softness that survived every blade disguised as love, the woman my mother never got to become. I carried her in my bones, and every time I speak, I raise her name from the grave they buried her in. I am grief turned gold, I am rage turned truth, and I am the last child of a quiet woman, and the first daughter of my own rebirth, and I am done being anything but everything I was meant to be. So sometimes what helps us stay isn't a person or a plan. Sometimes it's a blanket, literally, or a song that reminds you you're still here, or a voice, or even your own saying, not yet, you're not ready. Sometimes it's a plant you forgot to water that needs you tomorrow. It's your pet that is waiting for you, or that person that calls you their person, or even the comfort of your own heartbeat. What helped me stay wasn't something huge. It was the small things that reminded me that I was still alive, that I still had a body, that I still had a breath. And that was truly enough in that moment. If you're in one of those moments right now, that feeling of wanting to just give up, I want you to hear this. You don't have to be okay today. You don't have to solve everything. You just have to stay. Get through the next 5 minutes, and that is enough for now. Wrap yourself in that blanket. Touch something soft. Drink water. Listen to a quiet voice that says, you are not alone and you will never be, because you are not. Even in that quiet, even in that almost, you are still here. And that is all that matters. So thank you for being here today, for sitting with me in this moment, for letting me tell you a story through a poem that I've carried quietly for a long time. If you almost give up, but didn't, that is courage. Courage that this world doesn't often celebrate. But I see it, and I see you. You stayed, and that is all that matters. I will meet you again soon in the stillness.